Mercy has no mercy. Mercy has no mercy. Mercy has no mercy.
Mercy has no mercy. Mercy has no mercy. Mercy has no mercy.
Mercy has no mercy. Mercy has no mercy.
Mercy has no mercy. Mercy has no mercy. Mercy has no mercy.
I moved to Midtown 1983. I'm a senior. I'm a retired vet.
My name is Juanita Clay. I am a senior citizen. I have lived in the Western Addition ever since I can remember. And I am retired, my husband and I both, and all of a sudden we have to worry about a place to stay.
I was born and raised in San Francisco proudly. My first 10 years were in Potrero Hill, and then we moved to the Western Addition in 1970.
My name is Jay Majitov. I live at Midtown Park Apartments. I have lived here since 2003.
We, the residents of Midtown, went on rent strike. Now, what prompted the rent strike is we had been given increased rents, and mine specifically was probably the highest increase to 300%.
In 2013, Mayor's Office of Housing terminated its master lease with the Midtown Park Corporation, a nonprofit ran by the tenants, and awarded the master lease to Mercy, California. Mercy Housing manages about 40 or thereabouts properties in San Francisco alone. They are the largest nonprofit developer in the United States. This is a developer, a goodie developer, that comes in and disguises itself as a nonprofit entity.
It gets really complicated because what Mercy did is not only did they raise some rents that went from 30 to 300%, they lowered rents for people who they did I think it was based on 30% of your income. Those that their rent went down also are part of it because it's the principle of it.
My increase was like a few cups of coffee, for what it's worth. And so, but then there were other people that were getting like 300% increases in their rent. Since the time that I've been at Midtown, we've always been under rent control, which Mo, the city, acknowledges that, you guys were on rent control then, but not now.
Mercy Housing is saying that they're not forcing anybody out. They're not going to put anybody out, but yet we see where there's proposal where they want to tear down this place, and it's 139, 140 units, and they want to put 211 units, I think it is, here. Where are we going to go? A lot of Midtown tenants have been here for 40 years. Like, I'm a senior citizen, I never thought I'd have to move because of rent, but I'm being forced out.
The hit person in Mercy right now, Shoemaker, was the hit person in Mo, the Mayor's Office of Housing, before he took the job with Mercy. And there was some papers that had to be approved for him to take that position that he's in right now. Because while he was in Mo, there were properties that were given to Mercy.
During his last year, he awarded 5 large contracts to Mercy, California. He got the exemption by the San Francisco Ethics Commission to go and take a job in the private field. And lo and behold, in 2013, we find out that the Mayor's Office of Housing awarded the lease, the master lease on the property on which the tenants have paid up the mortgage to Mercy, California.
Fight, fight, fight! Housing is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Housing is a right!
Fight, fight, fight! Housing is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Housing is a right! Fight, fight, fight! Housing is a right!
So the reality is, if all the things that you are hearing were really true, I'd be out here protesting with you, but they're not. Okay, they're not true.
What's not true? What if we heard that's not true?
First of all, the claim that we're trying to displace thousands or all the residents or any of the residents is not true. We have never issued a legal notice to anyone. There's nobody who's been threatened with
these ridiculous rent hikes. It's the same as
everybody there, and I'm
tell
happy
us
to
what's not true. Because we got facts. Let him tell us what's not
I'm
true.
totally happy. If you call me, I will follow up with you. I'd be
Let's
happy
don't
to do it.
interrupt him. He wants to tell us what the illusions that we're under. Now, what's not true? What facts do we have?
There is nobody who has been threatened with displacement.
Nobody's been threatened with displacement.
There is nobody who's received any legal notices.
What about a letter saying that if Midtown tenants refuse to sign a draconian new lease, that will be a cause for eviction? What about that letter? All of us have got it. Everybody who refused to sign the new lease.
When the lease was broken, I didn't know the impact. All I remember is this 40-page package. It was a 40-page package. I read a few pages, I put it down and said, I'm not signing that. The whole lease signing thing was the one that started getting me more involved. Because I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't right. And we can refuse to sign it. And then they said, if you refuse to sign it, you're going to be evicted.
I took a look at the lease they wanted us to sign, and I didn't, just from the first paragraph, I'm going like, oh, no.
It was very much directive. It was very much, you do things our way or you will be evicted.
I mean, they had things like you could not grill. And my outside space is my life. If you couldn't grill, that was grounds for eviction.
Mercy, California allows itself to enter your home without a 24-hour notice.
Things about you can't wear your pajamas to the laundry room, or you can't have a guest in your home more than for one night. I've never heard of anything like that. Can you imagine that all of the years that we've lived here, that you're going to come in and bring those kind of rules to us?
Mr. Jose Crosby had been part of the Midtown community for about, I want to say just under 30 years. Well, during one of our tenants meetings, probably about, I want to say maybe 6 months ago, someone brought up that he's in the hospital. We don't have elevators, and so it's a rule by the doctor that he was not well enough to take stairs, so there's a doctor order that he had to be on the ground floor. What was told to me at this meeting is that Mercy said that in order for him to move, he had to pay market rate. He said, I'm dying. And he said, I just want to come home and die.
To lose folks like that is unbearable to the community. And other folks from the Fillmore neighborhood have been reaching out, and they asked us to hold a memorial rally to honor Mr. Crosby's legacy.
If Midtown Park Corporation had still been in control of Midtown Park Apartments, Mr. Crosby would have been instantly moved to the first floor, and that would have been prior. That wouldn't even need to happen, because prior to that, when he first injured his leg, we would have had all buildings compliant with the American Disabilities Act to have access. That's what we would have done. In 1968, they got this property through eminent domain, the city did. There were protests, there were all kinds of things, and the city was being accused of racial cleansing and racism. So what the mayor did at the time was they said, hey, we've got this area right here that's called Midtown Park Gardens, own to own.
It was always own to own, and that some people have certificates that doing redevelopment, that because like they tore these people's Victorians down, right, for the best, supposedly. But like, you guys are not gonna be this place. Here's a property that's going to be your property. Here is Midtown, which was like an outstanding property during that time in the 60s. In 2007, the tenants paid off the mortgage. And then Mo surfaced. Prior to the mortgage being paid off, they were nowhere to be found, right? Once the mortgage was paid off, the city surfaced and said that, well, we own the land and we own the complex, right? 2007, there was a resolution that was passed at City Hall. All of the supervisors voted on it. Gavin Newsom, the then mayor, signed it. That once the mortgage was paid off, the residents at Midtown would be either outright owners or co-op. Resolution 325-07, right? It's in black and white. If in fact the tenants are not owners of this property, it's being stolen from us.
Now! Ownership! Now!
These folks are about to be gentrified for the third time over. This is primarily a community of color. This is a working class community. We are limo drivers, we are your garbage men, we drive your trucks, we deliver your mail.
And now see, this opens up a whole nother thing about culture and the pride that we have in having young kids. When I was a little girl, there right across from Popeyes, it was Hayes and Divisadero, there was this beautiful black woman that had this shop, and I would go by her shop a lot. And then I went in and I would just talk to her. And she told me, I said, well, how do you open your own shop? How do you do that? For me to be this little black girl stumbling into this shop and talking to a black merchant, a young, beautiful woman, I then thought to myself, I could have my own store too. So what I think now that we're talking 2016, it's not about people saying, oh, you need to get over it, neighborhoods change, you need to be available. It's more about, what about that little black girl, the 1% of the 3% of little black girls that walk down to Divisadero Street and they don't see themselves. So how can you start reaching for dreams that's something that you think is tangible if you don't even see your own people?
Black families have been forced to move out of the area, out of San Francisco. And it's just terrible. We should be able to live wherever we want to.
Currently, right now, it's got to two things that we want. We want rent control, and secondly, a discussion on ownership options and how to get there. We want a say-so in our future, not the government, not the elected officials saying what they feel is best for us.
You have to make sure that folks have a home, that they're secure, that they're safe, that they have a stake.
Midtown tenants are unique. There are people that are committed, that know how to organize, and we're going to fight.